The Union 0430 is brought to you by Real Geese, the most technologically advanced silhouettes ever produced.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 46. Ooh, I'm excited because we got Corey Baker on. It's been almost a year trying to get this dude on, and we finally got him. But we'll talk more about that in a sec. Introduce the boys. Guess what? Sorry, but Ryan isn't with us tonight. I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping everything's all right. He just sent me a quick message saying he wouldn't be on tonight. Hoping everything's okay. It's not like him to give a last minute, but could be something minor. COVID. But either way, we'll bash on. Dave's up in Kincardine. Merck is still in Newfoundland. Philly is in Oshawa. And outside Kitchener, Ontario, the one and only, Corey.
Location
Baker.
Disclosed.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we can say. It's just outside Kitchener, outside Kitchener, and that's all you're getting, ladies and gentlemen. Buddy, thanks so much. I know I've been tormenting you to get you on, and I think you've either given up or I've actually beaten you down to the point that you just said, fuck it, let's just get this done and over with.
You finally just give up, man. You just finally, you know what, man? Like the guy just keeps emailing me, calling me, sending me postcards. Like, how did you get my address, man?
It's like a bad ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
That's why I moved in the first place, man. Was to get away from somebody I knew. Yeah.
I gotta move again.
Yeah, you're good, man. That's what makes you a puncher.
No, buddy, seriously, but it is awesome to have you on. And I know when I was telling the boys that I've been back and forth with you trying to get a date squared away and stuff. The boys were excited. First off, we got to say congratulations on becoming a dad, buddy. I know that's you've got a lot to be happy and proud about. But this one here, I promise you, it'll be the best one ever. So congratulations from me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, it's been a good change. It's something we're really looking forward to. I've always wanted a little mini me running around and do the same passions that I have, you know, hunting and fishing. Like that's what I grew up on. And so now I got a little one, and a little dude, especially if it was a female, hey, she'd be out shooting all of us by the time she's 6, I'm sure. But he's a little boy, so I'm just really pumped about that because, hey, I already got told from the wife that I get to buy him a little 22 already, so I'm going to pick that up ASAP. I'm going to use it myself for the next while.
Of course, break it in. You got to break it in, right?
Yeah, I got to sight it in. Yeah. So, there's any excuse, man, to buy a new toy, basically. And now it's like, now I can get little mini dirt bikes now and do all those fun things that, of course, we've always all wanted to do when we were young. So now it's finally like a chance to experience all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome, man. Well, I am super, super happy for you, and I know all the boys are too. Let's get right into it. I've got the boys. We got to do this again. We got to have this chat because I think there are people out there that haven't listened to every episode and they may have missed out on this. So I'm going to start it and then you guys chime in. You do not need to shoot at a turkey past 25 yards. There, I'm saying it. Off to you guys.
I think 30 is acceptable.
Yeah.
put me in, coach.
You hit the nail on the head. Not much more to say.
Yeah, if you're shooting past 20, you're doing something wrong.
Well, so again, I get some of my best material from Facebook, and again, yeah. So again, a fella puts a post out, and honestly, like this gentleman is honestly looking for some wisdom and some advice. So he puts up his first he puts up his patterning. So he's got his bird, his patterning, and I think he says something like 35 yards, and this is what my pattern is. What do you think? And so there's fellas that, God love them, they were awesome. They were like, not enough pellets in the kill zone. Why don't you drop back to 25 or Why don't you drop back to 20 or 25? And then in it comes all these fucking asshats coming in. For nothing wrong with shooting them at 40 yards, nothing wrong with shooting them at 35 yards.
Like,
And I'm
can I just say, like, ethically nowadays with today's modern loads, they're efficient and effective out to those distances. The whole fun of turkey hunting is that experience. It's that cat and mouse game and getting them inside that 30, 20. Heck, we honestly haven't shot a bird past 15 yards basically in the last like 10 years. You put your decoys close, you shoot them right at your decoys.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had one come into 7 last year,
7 yards.
and I didn't want to blow his head off, so I tried just to aim alongside of his head. Of course, I missed. And then he jumped up and he landed 15 yards away over there, and that was perfect.
Yeah.
My old man shot a I think it was a Jake a few years ago, and yeah, it was like legit 6 yards.
6 yards.
6
Well,
yards.
I don't think I would be. Actually, I'm pretty certain I wouldn't even be comfortable taking a shot at 35 yards. 35, 40 yards. I don't think I'd be comfortable at taking that shot.
If I absolutely have to. Go ahead.
I question how many of these people that talk about, oh, I got it at 50 yards. Like, what was your pattern? Did you even try it beforehand, or was it just like a fucking Hail Mary?
Gold.
Or
Just-
are they
yeah.
horrible at judging distance, which is another possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I shot it at 50 yards. You mean 15? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. But
Well, I shot a Tom, like this was back when I was running 12 gauges for turkeys and shooting. I had the Remington 1187 Sure Shot. So it already comes with the turkey choke and whatnot. And I think I was running 3.5-inch shells, which, oh Christ, I'll never do that again. But yeah, like he was 52 or 53 yards. And like, as you guys know, I got, I'm nothing but legs. And I legit paced it out
oh yeah.
at 52 or 53 yards. And yeah, like that was a poke and a half. But like watching this bird and just, gauging the size and the distance and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I feel confident in making that shot. And then after the fact, I reevaluated things after pacing it out and realized, like, holy shit, that was a poke. I won't do that again. And mind you, a lot of times back then, I wasn't even using decoys. Like the vast majority of the turkeys I've shot have been without decoys. But now getting back into the decoy game, like last year and obviously now this year, like I'll pace them out and I'll put those decoys out 15, 18 yards. And yeah, like shoot them in the face off your tiptoes. Like, and we've had this discussion on several accounts in regards to like duck hunting and stuff. Like, yeah, it's all fine and dandy. Yeah, I shot birds 40, 45 yards. Cool. I want to decoy them to 20 and 15. That's where I want to shoot.
And for turkey, especially with decoys, talk about like positioning them. We find it's a lot better to your advantage to put them closer, because if that bird holds up, there's a lot of guys that will put a decoy out 20, 30 yards. No problem with that. We personally put them at 10 to 15 yards so that if that educated bird ever holds up, he's that much closer to you. And that's normally where.
Which way do you face your decoys?
For any Jake situation, he'll be facing dead on to us.
Yeah.
So that bird has to circle him, and then of course put that.
I always run my turkey decoys like not facing, like usually quartering to me, but not straight dead at me. But yeah, like I said, 15, 17, 18 yards quartering towards me. So yeah, like in the case, if they come in and they want to kind of quasi hang up or they want to get in and get aggressive, you got to come around the face side of those birds. And yeah, it's good night, Irene, right?
So one thing we've talked about with duck and goose loads is some guys will pattern where they'll buy all of one type of shell and then they'll just change chokes out to see what it's like. And other guys will put a choke in and change different loads. And then another guy will change the chokes and the loads. With turkey ammo being as expensive as it is, how do you guys find the best way to pattern your shotgun is with all the different loads and chokes?
Have friends that shoot the same gauges as you. That is the best option to have. we basically like, we're shooting all the tungsten stuff. We're patterning all those TSS loads. That's $50 for a box of 5.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to get at, is that
Yeah, and so just meet up with friends, swap ammo. That's the best way we find. And we have a group of like 3 to 4 of us basically. So everybody buys 2 different types of shells, and you provide whatever chokes you're bringing for your own guns. But most of us will run at least 15 different types of ammo through each gun that we're shooting. Now, we're fortunate, everybody in my group shoots 20 gauges. There's not a single one of us that doesn't run a 20 gauge for everything. Turkey, waterfowl, ducks, geese, it doesn't matter. We all run 20. So that makes it really convenient for all of us, because we can just grab bags, everybody put your keys into a jar and pull them out. So
I was at a party like that once.
yeah, totally different though, eh?
Yeah, you went home by yourself.
Nobody picked my keys.
It's funny. There was a Shoeless Joe's in Brooklyn that used to do that sort of thing. Just saying.
Just saying. Your friend said.
So we talk about pattern loads. When you pattern any turkey load and you look at what would happen at 40 plus yards, people look at what's going to be in the kill zone, the head neck area. On all those patterns, and I don't think there's a choke out there that can do it to hold them inside that kill zone at that distance. You're putting a fair bit of pattern in the meat, right? And
Yeah.
I don't like to eat shot out of my turkey. Personally.
Shoot archery.
Well, shoot them closer.
Yeah.
Shoot them closer.
But yeah,
that's
like,
my main reason for shooting them close. I don't like lead in my turkey breast.
Yeah,
The
I think
legs.
in fairness, like all 5 of us were of the generation where like we had to do the turkey course, and when I did the course, oh shit, it would have been like 20 years ago, and I actually did it at CFB Borden, and they say like 6 pellets is the magic number. Well, sure, like that's fine, dandy. I like closer to 20 as the magic number for hits on lethal, like the lethal zone. But they say like when that bird comes working in, and like I run a diaphragm, that bird gets in nice and close. You throw a couple of chirps in the diaphragm, and he stands up straight, and he gets that head up, and you aim for the wattle. So basically, if you see, if you look at my head and wrist is, skin and head, and the wattles being here, this being feathers, this is where you aim. Well, you're going to get some down into here, and yeah, that's going to put some pellets into the breast, right? And as Mark said, like chewing on lead ain't so fun.
to all our lady listeners, yes, Phil is that big.
I was gonna say fucking forearms on him like a brook trout.
The camera adds 10 inches.
I do believe there's a Ron Burgundy reference, but I can't come up with it.
You know what, Philly? Honest to God, I know you've been sitting on the leather couch for the past little bit, but it really hit me today. I'm like, you need a bookshelf with some leather-bound books on it.
What I need is a nice tweed jacket with leather elbow patches.
No, you should be wearing your Filson. You should be wearing your Filson jacket.
That is upstairs. I'm thinking maybe in our next episode I might relocate to the garage.
To the garage? Where are you now? Basement?
I'm in the basement. This is the no smoking zone.
Oh, right.
There might be a Cuban involved in the next episode. You watch.
Cor, I wanted to talk to you. Tell me about your best hunt of 2020, because I would assume that everybody that's watching this is familiar with you. That they may not know everything there is to know about you, but they've seen your photography work. They've seen, they've probably following you because you are somewhat of a big deal out there. Tell us about your favorite hunt of 2020.
That honestly, like, that's a tough one, because we do hunt a lot. Me and the group of guys that we're with, we are consistent hunters. We're normally out there 4 days a week kind of thing on average throughout the season, and so we're we're chasing after all different sorts of waterfowl and all locations. We just do a lot of scouting, and I'm gonna say probably one of my favorite ones from last year, and my buddy Andy's gonna kill me on this one, but it was out at one of our buddy Langer's properties. It was just one of those combo hunts. There's 3 of us, an A-frame, and a whole ton of silhouettes out there, and we just stacked the field. I think we put out about 19 dozen that day, and it was late season, so those big killer spreads are what we're loving to run. And the 3 of us are just picking away on drakes all morning long. The geese were just not doing it. They were picking us out for one way or another. The geese were just always side shifting us. So we just kept smacking the ducks until we hit that limit. Then we readjusted the blind, moved our spread a bit. Then the geese just turned on and we started shooting these things. And I've waterfowl now, I think 20, 21 years. And I've never physically seen somebody directly hit with a bird. And this was the day it actually happened. And it's horrible. And that's what I said. I'm sorry, Andy, already in advance, but because he got his ass handed to him. And like we've all seen it online. You hear tons of people say it, but until you witness it and you hear that.
Oh, yeah, man.
There was a big flock of Canadas. We got him straight in, front on. We call the shot, and I'm shooting. I see the guys over there shooting. I hear my buddy in the middle, Langer. He yells out, duck. So I look up and I see this goose coming right at me. So I duck down and hit behind me. I didn't realize there was a second bird following as well. So Andy's just about to swing on another bird, and all I hear is a loud, like low bass thump. Yeah. And just smash. And I look over and there's Andy flat on his back and like done. Like he didn't get up for a good 5-10 minutes, and then once he got his breath going, he was like, anybody have aspirin? And honestly, like, and I filmed it, of course, and that's I'm saving that video for later, just so when he does forget, I'll get to bust that thing out, throw it up on the Instagram and have a laugh. But in amongst us dying of laughter, we did ask him if he was all right. He was breathing, so we knew he was fine.
That's all you need.
Like as an adult, if you're breathing, I'm like, you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
You can walk it off.
Yeah. Continue the hunt. Don't stop it. Like he's fine.
We were out west. We were out west a couple years ago, and we were shooting snows. And one of those shots, when the snows are just, they're thick. You fire one shot and you knock 2 birds. You hit 2 birds. Well, Matt Neville was in the blind right next to me. So I shot and 2 birds, and Matt's looking at 2 birds coming at him. And he's like, what do I do? So he moved out of the way of one, but he was getting hit with one regardless, and it hit him in the shoulder. And buddy, he was hurting, man. Like it
like Andy took it straight face chest. Giant late season Canada. Like we're talking like 14 realistic pound bird. Coming from 30 yards above you, dead fall. Like, and when that thump went off, but he got back up, and his shooting was actually pretty damn subpar after that. I still remember, because you feel sorry for the guy at that point. So then we're like, okay, it's a single. Like, you take him on your side, Andy, and it's like whack, whack, nothing, and then and
we're
like,
gonna.
Andy's not one to miss. Like that man.
Right.
Shoot for the middle bird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that boy is no slouch on those 20 gauge double guns that he runs all the time. And so to see him miss, we're just like, okay, that did actually rattle him. Like, all right, like you can sit down and wait for the next few, all right? But that one had to be one of the favorite ones from the season. It was we like to travel a lot, and we didn't get much of that in this year, of course, with everything going on. Like I have a lot of friends that are stateside, and normally I'm traveling down there with them. They're coming back up here. So that's the whole interaction we love. And this year it was just none of that, of course. So it was like we stuck to our core little group. Yeah. We hunted local, but we still had a blast at all of it. But I did miss out on like the Brant hunt and the Eider hunts that were all planned. New York diver hunts, all that was canceled this year. So it was just, that was a bit of a lunch bag letdown. But the rest of the season though, like, I think we shot probably some of the most birds we've shot in numerous years. Maybe that was because we really focused on sticking around instead of spending that time traveling and then scouting. But we had it was another banger year. I think me and Andy did one batch of pepperettes, and I think it was 120 pounds of pepperettes we did up just on one batch. Yeah,
Lord.
so yeah, we're eating well. Zesty cheddar,
Oh,
best flavor in the world. Yeah.
I'm hoping one of these days I will get out in your neck of the woods and bring my 20 gauge along.
That's all that's allowed actually out here anyway.
And the camera.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I was wondering how long it was going to be before Philly dropped the fact that he shoots a 20 gauge.
Don't hate. Don't hate.
20's the new 12, buddy. If you're not,
There's a reason why I own 5 of them.
Hey, I would shoot a 20. Honestly, I just don't have. It's not in the cards to buy one yet.
20
But hey,
gauges
Dave,
is so-
Dave, you just bought a new 20 gauge for Abby, right?
Yep. So my daughter gets to hunt this year, and she's fairly petite. And I was gonna get her like a 410 or a 28 gauge because she's small, right? And then, but they're not legal for turkey, so got her a 20 gauge, and we'll see how that goes. Wow. I got myself a 20 gauge that she's gonna use, right? The Frankie Affinity Elite.
Very nice.
It's a nice gun. I got it from Wolverine Supplies there. They shipped it.
Good.
Those guys are good. They're good. Yep.
Hey, anybody can shoot a 12 gauge. It
Yeah.
takes a real man to use a 20.
and honestly,
I'm with you, man.
the difference between a 12 and a 20 for efficiency, knockdown power, everything is all in the shooter.
Yeah.
The 12, you're going to be able to. Everybody's a good shot with a 12 gauge. You drop down to a 20 gauge.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
So
We just want to make
here's
sure
this-
that everyone knows that not everything we say on this show is factual.
hey, I looked it up like this. All right.
This has been like Facebook fact checked.
Yeah. I knew a guy, short period, I knew him for, and he's always shooting 12, 3.5. Doesn't matter what, that's what he's shooting. You can go out for pigeons, 12, 3.5. And so him shooting with us a bunch, he was finally kind of convinced to run a 20. He phoned us up I think it was the first hunt. He went on by himself with this 20 he picked up, and he phones me and he's like, I've shot 4 boxes of shells and killed 2 ducks. He's like, this gun sucks. And it's like, no, that it's not the gun. Like, and he even tried to sell me the gun because he's like, no, this thing's garbage. It's not the gun. It's the fact that you have half that pattern that you used to. When you're throwing 12, 3.5, there's like 1.5 ounce loads right there.
Okay, fucking pattern like this at 50 yards.
Yeah, like 20 gauge, I'm lucky to find like 1 ounce and a 16th, I think is one of the heaviest besides going bismuth and tungsten. 1 1/16 ounce, I think, is one of the heaviest loads that we can find in a 20. And that's the Winchester blindsides, which my gun loves.
I thought they were 1 ounce.
No, they're
Ounce and 16th.
Yeah, I even have the box right behind me. Probably I could be rude and just run and grab it, but I'm pretty sure it's like 1 ounce and a 16th. And duck crushing power, man. Well, I've used those things on everything from eiders down to giant Canadas.
Yeah.
Number 2, 3-inch. It's all you need for everything.
Now, do you use blindsides because you don't like to cut corners?
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That was smart.
Yeah. Is that like a dad joke right there?
I'm not a dad, so.
But that's pretty good though. That is pretty good.
Yeah,
I like
you've
that.
been waiting on that one.
Like I've had 0 issues. Like I remember I was doing a field shoot. I took a young fella out on a field shoot this past fall. Like he was just kind of getting into the field shooting waterfowl and stuff. So I'm like, dude, come on out. I'll take you out, man. We'll go crush some birds. And for whatever reason, just typical waterfowl. Like we're doing the field shoot. We changed decoys fucking 6-7 times. And we just couldn't quite get the birds to work right in the kill hole and do it dirty at like 15 yards. And this one poor goose comes skirting like the edge of the kill hole. And like, he was 40 yards. And I said to my buddy, I'm like, dude, like, screw this. Like, I'm lacing this bird. And I jumped up, 20 gauge, 40 yards, folded it, done. And he sat up and looked at me. He's like, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, dude, 20 gauge shoot just as fast as a 12.
That
Just
that's-
less pellets.
yeah, that's what the misconception right then is. Like, everybody thinks, oh, 20 gauge, they're less power, they're less this, you got to get them closer. The efficiencies and everything about them ballistic wise is all the same. It is just a matter of how many pellets you have in that package. Yeah. So
I shoot 10 times better with the 20 over the 12.
same. That's why all of us run 20s. There's no recoil, the guns are lighter.
Yeah.
And like the no recoil thing is what makes us that much better shooting, because we don't
Your
have to take
your
follow-up.
follow-up shots are just
Yeah.
lethal.
Like, the thing is, a toy, when you shoot those things, they just stay still. There is none of that jump. You just
Especially
stay still
if you're shooting a
going.
semi.
Yeah, which I'm a big fan of. Well, I started actually the big kick when I changed over to 20s. I was running my over under because was my one waterfowl gun that I actually had that was working really well for me, and 2-shot. Then I got into, I love that third shell on geese hunts, because you really stack up those early season limits with that one extra shell, you know?
Well, you're running the Cordoba, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
Cordoba, and
the
then this year I actually ran the Mossberg SA08.
Yep.
Or SA20, I should say. SA20. I ran that one because there's always that stigma that they're not reliable, everything like this. That gun was rock solid from start of season to the very last day, and I loved shooting the thing. It never had a hiccup on me, so it was like,
well,
that
it's
changed my
funny.
world.
It's funny you say that with Mossberg. Is there's a number of, like, for all the law enforcement agencies out there that run shotguns, obviously the vast majority of the guys run 870.
Tactical.
Yeah, like the Parkerized, like they're slightly beefed up version of the 870, like better components and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still an 870, and it's got the Parkerized finish, so it doesn't rust and whatnot. But there's also a lot of agencies that run the Mossberg as their tactical pump shotgun. And if a police service is going to rely on a Mossberg pump shotgun, then I'd say for any weekend warrior that's out there smashing some birds and stuff, it'll do just fine.
Yeah, no, it really changed my gears on that stuff, because that, as I said, that thing shot like a dream for me, shouldered really well, and reliability at par with my Benelli. And I will be honest with that one, but I clean my guns though. There's number one. I'm not one of those guys that puts that gun away in the safe and I'll clean it at the end of the season. Those are tools. I take care of all my tools, whether it's my wrenches, my drills, my guns. They're just a tool for me. So every hunt, I would take that thing apart and clean it. It takes 5 minutes.
So I have-
Stand by 1 second. We're gonna have a fucking training moment here.
I have the same gun as you. I got a Weatherby SA08 20 gauge.
Yep.
So, and I find that's 100 to 120 round gun. What just
Before you
happened
had to clean it?
there?
What the fuck happened?
So we are fortunate to be filming live here in Phil's fucking basement. I have this
Anyway.
stuff here. It's called G fucking 96. Spray
Best
this
smell.
shit on your fucking choke tubes.
I put that
You will
shit on
become
everything.
fucking exactly.
That's
Choke-
cologne.
When
Frank's
you
Red
buy
Hot.
when you buy a gun, strip that bitch apart. Spray this shit on it. Oh, your choke tube's fucking stuck? It's because you're a retard. Take the fucking thing out when you buy the gun and bring it home and spray a little bit of this in it. Spray the action bars. Spray fucking everything and shit will work.
Wow, way to open up that can,
Back over
Corey.
there.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I just got a text message from my wife. Apparently I was too loud.
Well, yeah, and
Oh,
you're yelling at everybody.
Holy,
Oh.
you angry tonight.
Yeah, and you're yelling at everybody.
Look out.
Sorry, sweetheart. I was just making a point.
You know they sell choke lube as well, right?
You don't need that shit.
I don't clean my guns. I clean my guns at the end of the year.
No, and I've seen you shoot. That thing's like a paddle.
That was my old gun. Hey, remember that? You remember that part that you said where it's not the gun when the guy was missing? Yeah, I can guarantee you it was the gun for me. I promise you.
I just got
we talk
yelled
about
at by
that.
my wife.
It was a 3.5-inch shells because they don't make 4s.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I did? I did drop from the 3.5-inch shell and drop down to the 3-inch, and honestly, it did make a huge difference in shooting. Just dropping that 1/2-inch shell made a huge difference. What are you laughing at, Phil?
Apparently, with these stupid earbuds in, I can't realize how loud I'm yelling. So the wife just messaged me. She's like, "Holy, you angry tonight?" I'm like, "Sorry, hon. I was just making a point." And she's like, "A very loud, full cursing one."
Everybody heard it.
I'm just tired of these posts. My choke tube stuck. Did you clean your gun?
Probably not.
Okay, so we talk about it's not the gun, it is the gun, all that stuff. When you get a new gun, how much time do you guys spend actually fitting that gun to you? Like there's that little bag and it has shims in it. How much time do you guys put into that, and what effort do you do into that?
Zero.
I don't know how to fit the gun to me.
Zero.
So
didn't
unless
have to.
I do that before I leave the store
but I don't know how to do it. Do you know what I mean? So unless,
because you're Newfoundlandese.
oh, this is true.
Yeah, I know how to do it.
Yeah, but I don't know how to do it. So when I got the Beretta, I took it out and shot some pigeons with it, and clay pigeons, and wherever I pointed it, the pigeons blew up. So then I went bird hunting, and when I pointed it at birds died. And
Tabernacle, you won.
I just wasn't sure how much effort people actually put into those things, right? Like I see them and I myself go through the steps, but I'm left-handed, so I just make sure, right? But
So
I
you're
just wasn't
just not
sure.
right.
that's
yeah.
that's what I'm going to have to do with Cade. So Cade is left-handed. So when it comes time to buy his 20 gauge,
Well,
which I thought was going to be my 20 gauge, but because he's a lefty now,
that's a big misconception. It's got nothing to do with what hand you are. It's what
No, go
eye you
over
are.
under. Then you can both run it.
what'd you say, Corey?
Go over under. Buy an over under. Then you both can shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Worry about ejections.
Or Browning BPS, it ejects on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Ithaca.
Yeah, that's an old school one.
Yeah.
I have it
in fairness, it's got nothing to do with what if you're left-handed or right-handed. It's got to do with your eye dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about which way it ejects and shit like that. Corey, I wanted to touch on.
I think that we need to touch on that, Phil, because that brings up a valid point about.
Thank you, David.
I think that was a good thing. That is a great topic for our listeners.
I do have the
Damien.
the odd.
Carry on.
As we were.
Yeah. So it's something that isn't very much talked about, in that people are like, oh, I'm holding my gun on my right side, but I found out I'm left eye dominant, or I'm a left-handed guy. I got a gun, I'm putting on my left side, but they're actually right eye dominant. So the correct thing to do, and it's going to feel weird at first, but shoot to the side that you're dominant on, right? For your eyes. Well, it will feel weird. But
first off, figure out which eye is your dominant eye.
And how do we go about doing that?
There's a trick about that. So we're going to have another educational moment. This time I won't yell or swear.
Oh, you can swear.
Well, yeah.
It's not as loud.
You wouldn't be Phil if you wouldn't swear.
Yeah, I've already gotten in shit from my wife. So anyways, so for those that are trying to figure out whether they're left eye dominant, right eye dominant, whatever the case may be, look at an object in the distance. And if you take your hands, make like a little triangle, you can make big triangle, make little triangle, whatever you want to do. Make triangle, point that object, said triangle at the object in the distance. Keep that object centered in said triangle and bring that, the triangle back to your face. As you're bringing the triangle back to your face, keeping that object centered out in the distance, you will naturally track it to your dominant eye. So as I sit here and look out, okay, like I'm in my unfinished basement, so there's like little nails in the fuck's it called?
A wall?
Insulation. There we go. There's little nails in the fucking insulation.
Guys, what am I looking at? We don't know.
right? Hold on. Let me turn it around.
Spy, spy.
I had a fucking brain fart. So, anyways, as I look at one of the nail heads here in the insulation, I keep said nail head centered in the triangle. I bring it back to my eye. Obviously, it tracks naturally back to my right eye. I already know that I'm right eye dominant. If it tracks to your left eye dominant, you have to shoot off your left shoulder. It's got zero to do whether you're left-handed or right-handed. That's not the issue. It's your eye dominance. And that's where you have to buy your gun according to and Nick, some people will, buy, because obviously lefties just aren't right. So left side, eject guns are, few and far between. But you can buy right hand eject guns and have them cast to a left hand shooter.
Are
and
you
somebody's
counting? Okay, keep going.
You can buy a right hand eject gun and have it cast to a left hand shooter. A lot of these firearms have reversible safety, so you can actually have the safety switched out. So when you push forward with your left index finger, it disengages the safety, and then you can fire the gun and so forth. These are things you need to take into consideration.
Being a left-handed guy, I just want to add, if you don't know what you're doing, don't change that safety over on your own. A left-handed gun, a right-handed gun won't shoot them directly in your eyes. They go out in front. You'll see. The only reason that I went
that way.
Yeah.
Go that way. Not
the only reason I went and bought a left-handed gun is because I was so used to the guys in the blind beside me shooting their empty shells at me that I got a left-handed gun to shoot them back. That's all it is.
So do you guys, just out of curiosity, do you guys all shoot with both eyes open?
I do. I shoot with both, but that's the way I was taught to shoot. I was taught to shoot with both eyes open. So it's just common. It's muscle memory for me.
Yeah, I always shoot with both eyes open. Rifle, shotgun, pistol, whatever.
What about you guys?
Tough one to say. Like shotgunning any birds, I think I have both my eyes open.
Yeah.
You don't really think about it. You don't think about it.
I know,
Yeah.
that's it. It happens so naturally. I know I was taught both eyes open.
Mhm.
But at this part, it is just all muscle memory. And I shoot
That's right.
guns throughout most of the days. Like tomorrow morning, I'm waking up to go do bird removal for work. And that is with a lot of my different shotguns, things like this. And so it's I shoot a lot. So all of a sudden, when you actually step back and go, well, what do you do?
Mhm.
That's a tough one. What do I close my eyes? Yeah. All
How
I
are you,
know is
Dave?
lots of things fall.
Same as Corey. I want to say I have both open, but I think I closed one. I think I closed my right.
So if I'm going to water swat a bird, I will close an eye just to make sure that I go right on. You know how, because they're harder to fucking shoot when they're on the water, right? So I find
They're not moving. It shouldn't be harder.
Well,
It's not that they're harder to shoot. It's that
They're-
it's the aiming's point. People
yeah.
don't understand that.
So to me,
This brings up another good point.
It's harder to shoot birds on the water for me. I find I'll miss a bird on the water more than I'll miss a bird in the air.
So this brings up another good point. Where do you aim at a bird when you're trying to dispatch it on the water? That's a cripple.
What?
Waterline.
Turkey shoot that thing every day.
I aim, so if the bird's whether the bird's broadside, chest on, whatever, you draw a straight line from its noggin into the water, and where that line meets the water is where I aim. Puts half the pellets straight into the kill zone.
Anyway, we're here to
Okay.
talk about Corey.
Yeah.
Sorry, Damien.
So if Corey was floating in the water and I had to shoot Corey,
Hey, Cor. So we touched a little bit on it before we started recording, and now that you're sort of rural, well, I'm not sort of rural, you are rural. You've got some property and stuff, and I know last week you had some issues with they were minor issues because you took care of them swiftly, but some predator control and stuff like that. And I want you to, because you're in that business of nuisance animals and taking care of animals or getting rid of animals that pose problems, and now you're doing predator control on your own property. For anybody that's a non-hunter that may actually listen to this show, can you explain the importance, not only from a safety aspect of your own pets, but the importance of predator control?
So prime example for that, getting a property has been mine and the wife's dream forever. Like that's probably all of our dreams, walk out your door, venture into wilderness. That's probably most of our dreams. So when we got this property, the first thing in my head was, I can go back to my childhood, younger days, those youthful days, running bunnies on your own property, going after squirrels, all those small game things that we probably take it, like, basically we just don't take advantage of anymore because we're all into those waterfowl, turkey, this and this. Step back and do those small things on my own land was one of our dreams. And within the first 2 days of owning this place, walking around, we noticed there's no rabbits. And like, we have prime habitat. I have big brush piles. I got creek drainages, hardwood, pine, everything you can think of for mixed vegetation, but no rabbits. There were squirrels. All the rest was coyote tracks. So it was like, okay, when we stepped in here, it's like, all right, there is a bunch of coyotes. And we're in an area where, yeah, there's normally, like, I've done quite a bit of hunting in this area over the years. So I know what's around for the most part. But when we moved in, we weren't ready for how many there were. And we took possession in December. And within the first week, it was like, we counted like a dozen different coyotes on the trail camera and looking at our windows, seeing them all day long. And coyote activity, for the most part, should be first light, last light. During those daytimes, they shouldn't have anything to do with us for the most part. But I would look out my window, noon, there'd be coyotes mousing through the fields. And the property we took over, there wasn't anybody in there for like a year. So at first it was like, okay, they're used to nobody being in this house. This is their territory, which was fine. Then we start, again, no rabbit tracks. Then we start seeing a bunch of the different squirrels killed off. Then I started seeing a bunch of geese and ducks being chased around. As I'm scouting them out my window, these coyotes are chasing after those same birds. So I was like, okay, I got to actually take care of these things. So got myself a nice little package rifle going there, nice 22 250, and just started calling them in and hammering everyone I could. And I've shot 8 out here already. And that's just off my 110 acres, whatever's coming through. And majority of them I've called them because that's the whole fun of it. I don't want to just shoot something just for the fact of shooting it. I love the interaction, the actual skill of setting up, calling them in. And so I found that new passion. And I never really did that all these years. I never really got into predator hunting the way I am now. And when you have one of these dogs running at you full tilt, it's adrenaline pumping. And it got me hooked on it. And so me and my buddies all started getting calls and started coyote hunting now around. And I myself am a licensed trapper, fur bearer. So we take a bunch of our own stuff, flush it, do all that kind of stuff. I have friends that actually will take them from us. They'll do all that work. Everything that we're harvesting, shooting throughout the season is getting used. So basically from December until February, we started hammering pretty good out here to the point where we're not seeing them every single day. Trail cameras are showing they're coming through at night. So it's like, okay, they're learning. We can work with that then. Again, I can coexist with everything until it starts stepping on things that I'm trying to do out there. And so basically within February, we start seeing rabbit tracks. And it's like, oh, okay. And so we're like, this actually might be working. We now, every morning, I wake up and I'll see my resident rabbits running through my yard.
That's awesome.
And so right away, I'm like, that's a big change. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but I like to think that it's because we're putting proper checks on these populations.
Yeah. And so a couple of things. Yeah, I think managing those predators and also realizing that I don't know what your spring was like, but we didn't have a ton of snow, so we didn't have a heavy melt of a ton of water having to worry about killing babies as they're in their burrow, right? So we didn't have to worry about a bunch of baby rabbits drowning. And this could be their upcycle year too, right? So it could be their year where they'll start coming back in large numbers again.
Yeah.
But I think by taking out those, it is a fine balance between that food chain, right? And if you were to leave it alone, then those dogs is only going to end up with mange and end up sick and diseased because they're not going to be able to. The ecosystem can't feed that many animals, right?
Yeah. Overpopulation will take control of itself one way or another.
That's right.
And
But
it's
it usually results in disease.
Yeah, which is a lot worse
Yeah.
than a humane, efficient kill, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's always tough to explain that to non-hunters. But that was also the thing that just sort of like opened my eyes up to this was fur prices are down. And I talked to this gentleman that processes a lot of our fur for us. And I said, what's the passion behind this? How are you still keeping going with this? And he said, honestly, he goes, sure, we're not processing for jackets anymore and much clothing. What they're doing now, though, is people want them for art. People want that wall hanger to make it their rustic home now. And so there's still a call for it. So that's his job, is he deals with fur. He's a wildlife manager himself. So he deals with some nuisance animals on the side, but his main thing is trapping and skinning things still. And to see that, okay, so there's still a market. And I have a lot of friends that are city folk, Toronto bound, a lot of them. And it shocked me this year. They were the first ones to be calling me, messaging me, wanting those, being like, hey, can you process for me? I want one of those. And so it just, when they see that you're not wasting anything, it sort of brings that new light to it then it's not a matter of, we're not just killing things. We are, again, keeping things in check, harvesting these animals, and we're utilizing as much as we can of that animal. And then, so from that aspect, then it's also like we're going to touch base on last Friday, you mentioned there, I walk out my door and here's 3 coyotes within seconds, basically, of me getting my dog inside the house right in my backyard. And that's when I took it personal, because doing this job over the years, I work with my dog. She's my little service dog. She's with me pretty much daily. We've been chased twice now by coyotes. So I know when a coyote is pursuing us for the most part. And I even have video from my window of these 2 dogs basically stalking through my backyard towards us. And so then it was just, okay, well, enough of that. And I ended up dealing with them though. And it's still exciting, but it's one of those things. And sadly, I dislike shooting them this time of year because their pelts aren't going to be worth anything. But when they are encroaching on you and your safety, then it's just a matter of, well, I want to make sure I'm the one on top.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really like that idea, or I like that mentality that the whole fur industry, the people think that it's going the way to dodo and there's not much interest in it. But like you look at, so you're a fur bearer, look at Brian McRae, who's still trapping beaver like a lot. Doing a ton of it. There's fellas on my social media that's still doing it. So there is still a market for it. There is still people that want it. I think I would love to have some, but
just on that subject real quick, when you mentioned beaver, so I started trapping some beaver this year as well. There's a neighbor that has a little 10-acre plot right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's had this property since the 70s. He's hand planted majority of the trees out there. The problem is there's an overabundance of beaver back there. that have basically clear cut him this year.
Yeah.
So he knew right away. We're out in the country. The second I moved in here,
Yeah.
everybody within miles knew that I was the trapper.
Yeah.
So we literally had different farmers coming up, introducing themselves to us, and then telling us, "Oh, careful! There's a lot of coyotes around here. Just to let you know, so you know what you're dealing with." So it was like, "Hey, I love my neighbors."
Yeah.
This gentleman with the beaver issue, he asked, "Hey, can you help me?" So of course I'm going to help you out. So
Yeah.
I ended up removing quite a few beavers. One of them, 56 pounds, like giant. So
That's a big beaver.
yeah, impressive. And the worst part was I had to drag it all the way out of the bush, like probably a good 600 yards.
Wow.
So the next year investment is an ATV because I'm not walking anymore doing that stuff.
Oh,
But
do it, buddy.
so back to the beaver. So I brought that thing over to the gentleman that does all the skinning for us on these things because I know he's going to utilize that, bring it up to the fur harvest in North Bay. And I asked him, I said, "So what are you getting out of these beavers now?" And it was funny because he goes, "The value of the fur, it's not going to make you rich. But what is fur prices dropped. There's less people trapping beavers, which has brought a rise and increase in the castor gland.
Oh, really?
And that castor gland is used for numerous things. And me and the better half, we were laughing because we started researching more into this stuff. You always got to be expanding the knowledge there. And we start realizing castor gland is used for a lot of artificial flavoring, vanilla, strawberry extracts in your ice creams, in different things like that.
Yeah.
So when it says artificial flavoring, a lot of times that's going to be a castor gland. And
Just natural.
Yeah, all natural.
For lack of a better term, it's beaver nuts.
Yeah, juice. Yeah. And so it's used in your perfumes, your high-end perfumes it's used for, but it has a vanilla odor. It's the oddest thing, but because of the lack of fur being harvested, it skyrocketed those castor prices. So now you're making money off of the fur still, and now you're making an increase off these castor glands. So it's like, yeah, you're going to see a huge decrease in those trappers nowadays. There is still a life, a passion at least that's running, and it's still out there. It's just, again, it's not as bragged about anymore. But again, I think that's honestly coming back around, and everybody's sort of going back, back in time now where trapping, harvesting your own food, gardens, everything has been increasingly popular as a way of life now because everybody's trying to sort of get away from modern grocery stores and all this, and they're sort of stepping back. So now all of a sudden that light on trapping is now coming back. It's not as problematic as it was back in the day. Fur is murder. That's sort of on the wayside now, thankfully. So it's one of those things where it gives us hope, at least, I like to say.
Yeah.
Have you ever cooked a beaver tail like Stephen Ranella talks about?
No, I have not. I've had beaver roast though, way back at one of those hunting meals there where everybody sort of brings different things. I've had beaver that way.
Yeah.
But no, not a tail yet. So I haven't been that hungry. Let's be honest.
He calls it a delicacy, right? It's like, oh, well,
Yeah,
I'll try it. I'll try it.
That guy's eating monkeys, so
I draw the line there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Corey, it'd be a little remiss to do a show with you and not talk about photography. Because as passionate as you are a hunter, and I think it goes hand in hand. I think it one plays off the other, but I'm pretty confident to say that of all the social media, you are it for us in Ontario, and you're like, I'm seeing your work now at DU dinners, on calendars. You're out there, your work is amazing. You're not filthy rich off it yet, but it's only a matter of time. How does I think I sort of kind of played into it. One plays off the other. So two passions that you can knock off, as Ricky would say, get two birds stoned at once.
So from way back in the day, I was introduced to the photography, and that was a big thing on my father. He was always running around with the camera, no matter what. Fishing, we were always outdoors. And I think that's why I'm such an outdoorsman now, is because I was brought up in that lifestyle. But he always had that camera with him. So I basically, once I really got into the outdoor stuff on our own, you know, you hit that 16 years, you're out the door, you're gone. I realized at first I wasn't doing any photos, and it felt like something was missing to me. And then I started thinking back, I'm like, okay, like what am I missing? And I picked up just one of those back in the day digital cameras, just an old school one, little lens that popped out, started taking photos. And at that point realized, okay, I actually have an eye for it. And it sort of, that light went on in my head. And I went, there's more to hunting than just shooting things, celebrating with buddies and running home. I like to soak it all in. And photography for me is that outlet that allows me to take my time. And all my buddies laugh, because it's like any new person that comes into our group for a hunt, because we love hunting with new people. Anybody that comes around, second that shooting stops, they're all getting excited. Okay, so we're gonna pack everything up. And my buddy Andy or Langer always are like, oh, give it 45 minutes still. 40 photos, like let's get everything perfect. They're like, we're not leaving yet until all those ducks are in a row, you know. And it's the appreciation of more than just the harvest, you know. It's something that, again, it's sort of simmering that hunt. You slow it down, you sort of take everything in all together. And the photography side of it now is I can look back at all those hunts. You know, the older I get, the more I'm forgetting. But I can look back 10, 15 years now and look at those different photos, and immediately I'm taken back to that time. Like I still have, I was just showing the better half that the other night, first goose I ever shot. I still have a photo of that. And I still remember running that Mossberg bolt action 12 gauge on that bird, homemade layout blind with my other buddy. And I'm still there. And that was 20 something years ago. I still remember shooting my first wood duck, throwing my gun down and just running full tilt. Getting back, and right away, my dad's like, so what did you do with your gun? Like, okay, learning experiences. I still have that photo of that duck to remind myself of all those adventures. And like, I don't remember what I did last week if I didn't take a photo of it at this point. So, and through that is how you guys got to know me, basically, is actually through my photography. And I got invited back to camps that you guys were all part of back in the day. And it was literally because of my photography side of things, because I took those extra 10 minutes, which is 10 minutes to me, but probably an hour and a half to everybody else, realistically, is I took that time to appreciate it, take those photos. I want to make sure every shot, in my head, I always go, make that shot count. Don't just take a photo with your feet half in it and you're pointing that camera down. Take those few minutes, set it up on a tripod. Like 99.9% of my photos that I'll post on any social media pages are ones that I took. They all have me in them, but I've gotten really good at using self timers, tripods, and I've lost 2 cameras now into rivers and lakes because my tripod's fallen over, and that never ends well, I can tell you. There's a mad dash in waders trying to grab those cameras out of the water, but it's like, there's still ways to do it. And then again, I look back at each one of those photos and not to toot my own horn, I love them, you know. It's my favorite thing to do is just reminisce and look back, and especially right now, off season. That's all I'm doing is looking back at my last year's hunts and those kind of hunts from previous. And again, it just takes you right back there. And just take that time, those few minutes, and you can make great quality. And even now with your cell phones nowadays, like, there's no reason you can't take some half decent, real nice shots that's going to help you appreciate and remember those moments from down the road. And I'm just in that fortunate position where people actually like to share my stuff. So, and I love that. And I just love seeing that work, because I knew I took my time to take it, and other people are appreciating that same stuff. So,
man, I know way back first when I started this crazy idea of Punisher waterfowl, I can remember saying, hey buddy, can I steal some pictures from you? And you were like, yep, you tell me what you want and I'll send it to you right now. And my inbox filled up fairly quick with a whole ton of pictures from you. I don't want to take Dave, I do know that you had a bunch of questions that you wanted, because Dave is dusted off the old camera.
The
Yeah.
Polaroid.
Yeah. So take it from a guy that just about to go to Disney 10 years ago. So he buys a Canon Rebel T5. I mean, not even the T5i, the T5. And now he's out in the world, growing up, taking pictures of ducks and geese and having fun with it. What point does a person need to upgrade their camera equipment, and where would you start upgrading?
The point is where you're not happy with your photos that you're getting. For one reason or another, if you, in your mind, you take that photo, you look at it at home on a computer and you go, ah, crap. If you're just going to be happy with, crap, then that's where you'll stay. But generally, most people want to expand, want to get better and better and work towards something. That's where upgrading is going to come into play. And it all depends on what level you want. If you want to go to stuff where your photos could be a chance for magazines and different advertisements and all these kind of things, you're not going to want to do it with just a cell phone or a Polaroid camera. You're going to need to step up there. So it all depends on what levels you want to get into it. And let's be honest, like everything we do, the second you buy into something, there's always that better version that you're going to strive to get that. So set yourself a budget, try to find, and nowadays it's a lot easier than when I even got into it 15 plus years ago kind of thing. That passion was, we didn't have the internet to tell us the 10,000 different reviews on different products, you know, all the goods and the bads. We had Canadian Tire catalogs and Sears back then, and you just had to take your word for somebody that you've never met. At least now, with those 10,000 reviews, you can sort of streamline what you want in that price range. And there's so many different options out there nowadays where, and fortunately, technology has changed. So those cameras that used to be $5,000-$6,000 for those bodies, now you can buy that technology for $500-$600 now. And it all depends. Again, do you want to blow up that photo to be a giant thing, or are you just going to put it on social pages or print it off and put it into your photo album, if anybody still does that? I don't know if that's even a thing anymore.
Scrapbook.
Yeah. But it comes down to like your megapixels on your photo quality. And then if you're sticking to more of a base body, strive to get a little better quality lens. But again, now with technology out there, most of these new bodies, you're going to be miles above anything old school anyway. So you can pair it with a more cost-effective lens out there, being like Sigmas, things like this. So those, it's not an off-brand, but it's not a Nikon or a Canon, but you can get that quality for hundreds of dollars less. And so you can get yourself a great package. It all depends on what style of photography, though, is the big thing. So, and I like Phil, I know you probably run around with a bunch of different lenses too in your cases all the time.
Two.
So, yeah, and it's like, it all depends on what mood I'm in for photography basically that day. If I want to take more wide angle shots, things like this, more lifestyle shots, I'll just run with my basically lower millimeter cameras, like my 15 to 35 Nikon I'll run with, because I can get some great action shots in the blind. But for my wildlife aspect, taking just photos of ducks, geese, whatever it is that I'm focused on, I run with a big honking 600 millimeter lens. It's not the easiest thing to wield around when you're hunting in the blind and things like this, and it just doesn't work for those shots. So you just got to sort of pick what you're going to focus on for that day and sort of set yourself up that way. So then the budget, of course, is going to be where you're going to start though. But
I just want to jump in right quick because I want to ask this question, because I was looking at cameras the other day. What is a mirrorless camera? So DSLR, and now there's this mirrorless camera. So
you're getting above me on this one now though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Like I'm still sitting on DSLR with a mirror, and it's basically going to be a shutter system that's running. Again though, I'm going to step back on that one, Damien, because
okay.
Okay,
we don't need to go too much more into it. It was more or less because now you brought up how technology always changes. And when I looked now, like that D3500 Nikon that was once $2,500 is now $1,600. And now there's this new type of camera, this mirrorless camera that half the size and it's $3,000. And I'm like, what's going on here. But you touched on it, like those bodies that were out of your price range one time possibly are now in your price range.
So you know the old school little pocket,
Yeah.
point and
Yeah,
shoots.
Yeah.
Those are mirrorless. Those little tiny pocket point and shoots.
Okay.
Those are mirrorless.
Okay.
They've now come up with like the DSLR style cameras that are also mirrorless. So it's basically, for lack of a better term, it is a giant pocket point and shoot. So you've got the ability to, make all these adjustments, control all these features and stuff on the camera, and still, achieve these like magazine quality shots. With
Okay.
basically the guts are the same as like the little pocket point and shoot, just a shit ton better.
So this is not a DSLR. It looks like one. It's a DSLR style point and shoot.
That's
Yeah,
probably a
I have
Sony,
one.
right?
This one is a Fuji.
Fuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this might be my old one.
I have.
Might be my really old
too.
one. Anyways, this one actually has a mirror. And what you see here is your viewfinders up here.
Yeah.
Your lens is down here.
Roger.
So how does
far?
how does your view get up to here on a DSLR?
The
Okay.
mirror.
It's a mirror, hits
Yeah,
another
yeah.
mirror, and comes back to your eye. A
Right.
mirrorless doesn't have those. You know what I mean?
It's just okay. Roger.
And it's usually
Gotcha.
you're reading what you get here is a little screen. There's a little screen in here that reads
Yeah.
the image off the sensor. So hence
Okay.
it's mirrorless.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Okay, Dave. Sorry, buddy. I hijacked your.
Oh no, I was actually hoping he'd tell me that like once you're comfortable going off of the auto feature and like that's all I was looking for. Right now I got to go spend money.
Get off the auto feature is going to be your best friend. Learn that
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, I've been doing that and getting like, okay, it looks nice dark, and then now I'm starting to play with like, okay, if I'll take the same picture, like I'll take it with a different ISO all different times, and then I'll bring it into the computer and see what I can do with the different darkness levels and the different light levels, and
So
it's just fun, right?
yeah, one thing on that then is run manual, but then run yourself auto ISO.
Yeah.
So it's going to correct, because that ISO on a fixed subject is easy. You have the time to adjust your ISO for the proper lighting. In a hunting situation, that can be a tough one. I run auto ISO for a lot of my early morning, low light periods, because it's going to take that guesswork out of me. Because if I turn this way and I'm facing towards the sun, that's a different ISO. And when you're trying to track fast moving birds, that's a tough one. What you're going to want to work on and to start playing with is learning your f-stops and your shutter speeds, basically. So your shutter speeds, the higher the number, the faster that's going to be running that shutter. So if you want to basically be shooting, say, a flying duck, and you want to freeze frame that bird, you're going to run your IS or your shutter speed, basically 1400 to 1600 is going to be a crisp freeze frame type of shot. You turn on your sync, you take a picture of that water flowing. You can pretty much stop that water mid-frame. If you want, though, more light availability in your camera, you're going to have to run a slower shutter speed and a higher f-stop. Your f-stop's actually what's going to be controlling like how much light is basically going to be coming in there.
Your aperture.
Low light periods, you're going to be running like 2.4 to hopefully 5 at the highest f-stop. That range is going to get you a lot of light availability, but if you're running high shutter speeds combined with that, it's going to produce a dark image then, or it's going to be blurry, those kind of things. So there's always a very fine line on your ISO, your shutter speeds, and your f-stop, and it basically all works together.
Yeah.
So the higher or the lower your ISO, the crisper your shots are going to be. So if you're having to run, again, low light periods, if your ISO is screaming high, like 25,000, when you get home, that picture is going to be very, very grainy. Whereas if you ran a 400 basically ISO, so you slowing that down, you run a low f-stop so that you're letting the most available light in, you have to slow that shutter speed down. And that's why a lot of these waterfowl photographers, any early light periods, you're going to be running almost on a tripod, and you need your subjects to stay still. And that's a tough one when it comes to hunting, but that's what makes our waterfowl hunting photography and any kind of hunting photography that much more of a challenge. Is we're hunting in conditions that are not proper or adequate for real high quality photos, at least in the sense of making them easily high quality photos, because again, we have a lot of challenges we're faced with. We're not in a light room with full light, you can white meter everything. You're on the fly when it comes to hunting photography, and that's what really is challenging and also makes you want more, is the fact that when you get an image that's proper and you adjusted everything and it actually worked out, it's that light bulb that clicks and gets you even more hooked on it. But a lot of those shots, and like I post a lot of long exposure shots because I find those the most fun and some of the most challenging shots out there, like those scenes where everything's pitch dark, I have a million stars out there, and there's my buddy holding a decoy. Behind the scenes, he's holding that decoy in place, not moving, for a good minute and a half kind of thing, 2 minutes on some of these shots. And so it's like, I always laugh though, because behind the scenes is what kills me on all this stuff. You know, that Instagram versus reality. And it's like, yeah, I'll post that photo. It looks really cool. There's that big light streak going by in the darkness, those kind of things. But it's behind the scenes that I look at that phone and I just laugh, because I go, that's my buddy running around like an idiot with a headlamp on his head at 3, 4 in the morning, running through a field in circles while I'm telling him what to do behind the camera. And I'm just like, man, this stuff just kills me. But that's what gets me going even more, is seeing that end results, and then remembering what went into it is what helped drive it there. So it's a lot of challenge, but a lot of fun. And you get to laugh at your friends and have photo proof of it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And public shaming is always the best.
That's it.
Dave, and going back to your whole idea of like, when would you need to upgrade and whatnot, and still going along with what Corey was talking about, in your photography, if you start approaching those fringe areas that are harder to get shots and you find your camera is not capable, you can easily spend money to get into those areas with a more capable camera. There's cameras out there that the bodies are 15, 20 grand. If you want to spend that money, it's going to be very capable in those low light situations, right? But how far do you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a weekend warrior, or do you want to make a life out of that kind of thing? And or just sit right in between that and just spend a lot of money, but hide all those photos under your mattress.
Just flex, like, I got this camera. I haven't taken a picture with it yet, but it's $15,000. Right?
Yeah.
It's all about flexing. It is all about the flex, which brings me to our final point for the evening. And that is, if anybody has managed to stick around and listen to this far into the show, I applaud you, because there was a good 5 minutes there where Phil was going on about fucking gun maintenance that I'm sure nobody really wanted to hear about. But anyways, but if you have stuck around this long, here's our last topic. And it's something because Dave and I, have been receiving messages, God love them, for all these helpful people in social media land that wants to help us grow the Punisher waterfowl brand, and for the very, very low price of X dollars, they will get us all kinds of likes and followers on social media and all of this stuff. To which we reply, no thanks. We'll go about it the old-fashioned way, if there is an old-fashioned way when it comes to social media. But anyways, we know people do it. It's easy to tell. It's easy for me to tell, because, you know, if you're First Light, well, you expect First Light to have 600,000 people following them, right? If you're Jimbo and you've got 30,000 followers, there's probably something up with it. I just wanted to throw that out there to see if anybody had anything like, so I guess what I'm trying to get at, do you guys see anything wrong with paying for followers? Because I do. If you do, if you don't, no harm. I don't give a fuck. I just wanted to bring it up and something to discuss.
Probably why Phil left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've been offered this so many times through the Punisher page, I looked into it and I'm very curious, like, hey, what are they actually doing here? And all it is it's a bot that they just run on the computer and it'll interact with 150 accounts. It'll follow 150 accounts and unfollow them like 2 hours later, and it just keeps doing that. And the premise is that you'll follow all these people, it'll unfollow them later, and hopefully a certain percentage of them will follow you back. The thing is that a lot of this stuff, and the biggest way to look at this mathematically is you look at the meme accounts, and these people, they do the follow back, and then all of a sudden the bots get involved that are fake accounts to make it look good. And you can actually go online and you can see if what percentage of your following is actually fake. There's like little indicators on that. And
Oh, really?
yeah, so like these social media influencers, they're now using that. Like if a company wants to pick an influencer to use their stuff, and in the hunting industry, it hasn't got to this yet, but in like the clothing industry and the makeup industry and all that stuff, those companies are actually using these methods to see, like, do you have fake followers? Are they there for you because you're a hunter or because they like your body? Are you there for this or that? Like they're looking at all these metrics, and it'll catch up here because like some of these sponsorships and some of these, whatever you want to call them, whatever verbiage you want to use, it can be big dollars, and you're representing a company. You got to represent them properly.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's all I got to say.
That's
Well,
I follow some of the blurriest photographers out there that I'm pretty sure they use potatoes for camera lenses, and they still have 10,000+ followers. Yeah, I'm just like, you're not fooling anybody.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like there's. I look at some of the best photographers out there for waterfowl, and they have 2,000 followers. Again, it's all on what you strive for, and really, what is your end goal, I guess. Some people, they need those followers. They
Right.
need to have the most out there, even if they are all bots and they bought them. I guess they sleep better at night. Myself, I don't care.
Well,
Follow me, I like it. That's cool. I appreciate it. I'm never gonna pay for it. That's money I can.
and I
spend on-
guess
never get.
that's what I was just going to say. Like I would, like, I like the fact that there's people following the social media pages. Like I do, I like, and because we're small enough now, like every person that follows us, well, I go check out their page, right? And if it's something that interests me, well, then I'll follow it too. But and we're at that point where we're just small enough where every single person comes in, we sort of kind of check them out. But when Dave talked about, now you're starting to see some of these big corporations and these big clothing, makeup, whatever lines. Now they're starting to figure out a way. And Dave, you touched on something with regards to how podcasts, you sent it in the chat, how podcasts, how they rank podcasts now, because you're saying Apple Music and Spotify is even saying to these third-party people, yeah, we're not using you. You guys can't do this. We're going to do it on our own because I don't think you're giving out the right information. So when these, I guess, these big companies, so in the waterfowling world, so let's say First Light or Lucky Duck or whoever, when these guys are looking for who's going to be the next person that's going to promote their brand, that's going to be on their staff, we all know people that, listen, I'm not a great fucking hunter by no means, but I know a fuck ton more than a lot of these people that are bragging about their partnerships or their sponsorship or their pro staff or whatever. So maybe, you know what, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it'll start catching on to some of the fake accounts and the people that are just trying to embody something that they're not. And listen, there's no shame in that they're not. Just don't pretend to be something that you're not. That's a whole lot of knots in that sentence.
So if you're a business and getting your name out there as a legit business, I know to pay for followers is one thing, but I mean, if it makes good business sense to increase your follower base,
Yeah.
I don't see a whole lot wrong with that. It's when it's just like you said, Joe Blow with a potato for a camera, and all of a sudden they got 8,000 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see what is the point? Are you promoting a business, or you just want 8,000 people to like your photos?
But it's now a business. The social media influencing is a business now. People are getting kickbacks and stuff, right?
Yes.
That's right.
And
But the bar goes higher and higher.
It's $150 a month US for certain. The two that I looked at were $149.99 a month US. And then I looked at it. It's 16 lines of code for a computer programmer to make it. I counted the lines. It's like, oh, and they just run the same one. Like if I did it, they'd run the same 16 lines that they do for Phil, that they do for Corey, that they do for Mark. You know, like they'd put in your keywords and that's it. So yeah.
Fellas, as much as I love this conversation, the old phone just dinged and Philly is tired and he's got to get, and he's, hey, Philly's out doing the good work and pounding the streets and on patrol. You know what? You need your sleep, buds.
I was pounding the roads today and doing some astronomically shitty fucking dog training this morning, which turned into a epic fucking turkey photo shoot. So
Phil's tired from watching turkeys fucking all afternoon.
So
and that's exactly what they're doing. I legit watched two turkeys fornicate this morning.
Yeah. They're banging so hard, Phil got tired.
Right?
So as the show
I needed a smoke afterwards.
Yeah.
As the show was going on, I get a video from Bill Kennedy, and it's somebody doing some dog training, and he says, "Tell me what's wrong with this video." I hate that, right? Because what are your chances you're going to get it right?
50-50.
And I'm still a newbie when it comes to dog training, right? So I analyzed the video 3-4 times while you guys are talking, and then I write my answer. And then he sends me something else, and I go, "Well, was I correct?" And he was like, "No, you were way off."
He just didn't want to tell you weren't listening all the time.
Well, anyways, Corey, buddy, thank you so much. We've gone over our 60-minute mark. Corey, thanks so much, buddy. I know we were really all over the place tonight. The one thing that we do at this show is we try to weasel our way into a hunt with our guests before the show is over, and something I'd like to do again with you. I know last 2 falls ago I was supposed to come down and hunt with you guys. Wasn't able to make it over, and calendars just getting mixed up and stuff like that. Please, God, I hope that we can pull it off this fall, because I'd love to get down, hang out with Andy again, and Randy and you. And I really would love to get down and hunt with you and see your son and all of that good stuff. So I know I'd tag the boys along with me too. They'd be all too happy.
Yeah, it's easy out here now. You just tow a trailer. I'll let you set up in my backyard. I may even let you have some free water.
Bill has a trailer. Dave has a trailer.
Perfect. I got the property for it, boys. So
Dave got rid of his trailer
2 years ago.
Oh,
you can literally walk out the door and start hunting out here now. So
that's awesome.
Come and take advantage of that with me, man. You guys are always more than welcome. You know that. So
awesome.
I don't think you realize how close I actually live near you.
You just come on by, man. As I said, you guys find where I live. You're more than welcome to hunt.
I
Hey,
can
don't
make
say that to
happen.
Dave's a nerd and he knows
Yeah.
stuff.
He's tracking my IP address right now.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
"Oh, I know
exactly.
where
In fairness,
Exactly.
By the way, you're-
I've got access to CPIC.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm screwed.
Which you would
Hey.
never use for personal.
Hey, Corey, do you want to know the day you got your driver's license?
Yeah, yeah.
Just saying.
Dude, don't worry, that's an easy one. It was the same day I got pulled over for doing like 90 in a 50 school zone on my motorbike when I was 16. Yeah, yeah,
One
that's
fucking
easy.
job. One job.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta cut him off.
We're
Ladies
out.
and gentlemen, yeah, we're out. Thanks so much for Corey Baker for coming on. Hopefully this was what you thought it was going to be. If
I
not,
knew
I'm
what it was. Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. That's why I pushed it off for so long.
well. Guess what? There's going to be another invite coming here real soon. So,
see you in a year.
ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't figured it out yet, God help you, but we are not experts. We are just a bunch of friends that love hanging out with one another and talking about hunting and everything in between. This was episode 46 of the Union 0430. Until next time, big love.